everyone. I am Heather Chirtea, the Executive Director of Digital Wish, and we are here to talk about solving the digital divide. There is a huge amount of funding coming down the pipeline from the federal government, so we have put together a bang-up panel of experts. We've got Brian Stephens here from Funds for Learning. They are the premier ERate experts out there. He's going to talk about ERate and the $7 billion that's coming. We've got Cheryl Abshire, former CTO, and she's from Lake Charles, Louisiana, and she's going to talk about the need for applying for this funding. And then lucky enough to have Kristal Ayres here from BrightBytes Learning. And Kristal is going to share with us how to do a needs assessment for the application process. I want to share that this funding is some of the biggest funding that has ever come down the pipeline for education technology. There is $7 billion coming down the pipeline. And this is, in my mind, the biggest funding opportunity to solve the digital divide that I have ever seen in education. But it is coming down. It was announced right in summer when graduation happened and all the schools are too busy, and the deadline is August 13th, right at the end of summer, right when teachers get back from vacation. And it has to be applied for over the summer. Cheryl, do you want to talk about that a little bit? I mean, for me, it's so frustrating to see that window when everyone's on vacation.
Well, here's the issue. This and Digital Wish is the perfect organization to help us push this out to the community, because we've all been wishing that funding would flow through to help our students and our parents at homes in terms of basically erasing this digital divide. I was a CTO for almost 25 years. I've been doing technology almost 30, although the hair color, helps with, push back that age. But advocating, flying to Washington, D.C., working with all of our organizations, with CETA, with ISTE, with COSN, pushing out the whole concept of give us the money, really show us the money. Now, we have gotten on our knees and begged for funding from the FCC, from Congress. Now is the time to not delay, to apply for this. Even though the timing is not perfect, you know what? You don't look a gift horse in the mouth. You just, pull yourself up, you use what you have to use. And that is why we are all, as educators, so fortunate to have this partnership between Digital Wish and BrightBytes to give us the tools to do this easily and quickly with the Funds for Learning. As Heather mentioned, the premier ERate consulting firm in the country is Funds for Learning. John Harrington is CEO, and Brian is one of the lead experts there, have spent time in DC, and they are just as responsible as every educator is for getting this money delivered finally. So we cannot say, well, it's summer, I'm going to the beach, I don't have time, or I don't really need this money because the district gave me some money. We have to think strategically. We have to apply, because you know what? All this begging and whining cannot be fruitless. They have to see we have the need, they delivered on the funds, and now we're disseminating it. And every student in this country is connected in ways many of us could have only dreamed about for decades, and Digital Wish wished for, and the fairy godmother came through.
That's a really huge thing. They delivered on the funding. We have been hoping for this funding for years for hotspots and one-to-one technology for laptops and connected devices. The funding can qualify for laptops, it can qualify for hotspots, it can qualify for other types of devices like tablets and iPads. Let's talk a little bit about the funding and what schools have to do to qualify. So funding is going through a program called ERate, which a lot of schools, well, I'd say probably all schools know about ERate, but many schools do not apply to ERate because the application can be complicated. maybe they don't qualify. It's a discount program that may be in a lower discount bracket. Let's, Brian, let me see if you can give us a quick overview of how those rules have changed and how ERate is different from this new funding called Emergency Connectivity Fund, because it's critical. A lot of schools aren't going to apply because they think it's an ERate. It's the same rules as ERate. Brian, how have those rules changed?
Yeah, well, as far as the Emergency Connectivity Fund is concerned, I would say the largest majority of schools in the country are eligible to participate in this program. They based it on eligibility for the ERate program, but you're not required to be participating in the ERate program in order to participate in ECF. You just have to meet the eligibility requirements. And I would say that if the state recognizes your school as a K-12 school, you're eligible. In 99% of the cases, that's the litmus test. And so,
But Brian, let me interrupt. Wouldn't you say that what's going to happen predominantly around this country is that a district leader, technology leader, will apply for all of their schools rather than school by school? So I know as a former CTO, that's the strategy I would have employed. And, if there's schools listening or watching this, they should reach out to their technology department, because they're going to be the ones with the feet on the ground doing this and making it happen for those schools.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely agree with that. And in fact, that's going to be, in most cases, probably the easiest and fastest way for those applications to take place as well, just because those schools that are already participating in the ERate program are sort of pre-registered, if you will, that their setup is going to be automatic, and they'll be able to log in on day one and begin their ECF applications.
What about for the schools that aren't registered, though, those new applicants? We have a lot of very small school districts who never applied for ERate because they couldn't find the person that had the grant expertise to do the application. I mean, in that case, they can certainly call Funds for Learning and get a consultant to come and help them with their application. But if they're not registered, then what do they have to do to get started? There are step-by-step instructions right on digitalwish.org, which you can follow and take a look at. But Brian, give us an overview of those steps and what they have to do.
Yeah, all the applications are submitted online. And so in order to gain access to the system to submit an application, you really just have to complete a registration process. They will, if you're a first-time applicant, they will issue you what's called a billed entity number, which is just a unique identification number that identifies your district so that they can be placed on a funding application. You'll supply a little bit of statistical information, your name and address, and some very basic things like that. And then once you're registered, you'll be ready to go.
Great. So now that I'm registered, I've gone through all the registration process. I then want to get ready to submit my application. Now, there's a couple things that you have to do now in order to be ready to get your application put into the system. The first thing is you have to quantify your need, and that is the focus of today's program, because you have to count up how many kids need hotspots, how many students do not have laptops, and we're looking specifically at the home, okay? So the original ERate program covered internet at school. The ECF program, one of the major differences is the ECF program, this covers internet at home. That's what the $7 billion is for. So in order to apply for funding, you have to find out first, how many students need it, and second, how much is it going to cost? So you have to quantify your need, and then you have to get price quotes from your vendor. Let's deep dive into quantifying the need a little bit. Brian, do you want to share what you're seeing with quantifying the need and what those requirements are?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So one of the requirements for Emergency Connectivity Fund funding is that you are only seeking funding for internet connections or devices to support users who would otherwise lack sufficient connections or devices to engage in remote learning. And so in this manner, the FCC didn't exactly tie eligibility in this program to socioeconomic levels, although certainly there's probably a correlation there. Really, the litmus test here is identifying the portion of your user population who currently does not have adequate access to internet bandwidth or a connected device. And if you can identify those students that have a need for either one of those or both, then they're eligible to receive funding to purchase those devices and give those out to those users.
So all schools are eligible. So public schools, private and charter schools, and libraries are even eligible, but you have to assess this need. Now, if we are going to go out and assess the need, that means we have to get to parents and ask them if they have an internet connection at home and ask them if they have sufficient laptops. And this language of sufficiency is really important because that's the language of the application. That's the language of the rules. And if we can adhere to that language, well, we will be able to qualify for the funding, apply for the funding, and be able to qualify more of our students, because lots of students have old laptops and equipment that's antiquated and doesn't work anymore, but they're barely getting on to Zoom calls. Well, the language says sufficient, and I think that's a critical thing. So what we've done is we have partnered up with BrightBytes, and we have Kristal Ayres here. And Cheryl actually introduced us to BrightBytes, and I'm very excited because what we've done is to create a survey for schools that they can literally send out in a single link through their parent notification system. Cheryl, talk about that a little bit. Talk about the parent notification system and BrightBytes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Heather. Well, you know, some of us don't sleep well at night, and we're always thinking about these issues, even though I retired from the Calcasieu Parish Schools recently. I'm still in the mix of this and still working hard to help solve this digital divide that's, been in existence since, I obviously began as an educator. And so I've had a very strong knowledge of and working relationship with BrightBytes as a customer in Calcasieu Parish. So I know their work around survey work, their data collection, their data analysis expertise. So it made sense to me to try to put, Digital Wish and BrightBytes and Funds for Learning together. So I kind of was the broker, of this deal to get them together, because I felt like their services match the need. And here's the great thing about BrightBytes and their team. The minute we made this suggestion, they immediately said, we're in. We're in, we'll do this as a service to this country and to our nation's children. We will not charge for this. We have the ability to do it. We have the systems. We have the expertise. And that is a rare thing in today's marketplace, to find a company that just, opens the curtains up and says, come on in. We're going to take care of this need because we're all in this together. So Kristal is going to share the generosity of BrightBytes to provide this very, very detailed opportunity, individualized for every school district in this country, large, medium, or small, to use their tools and their people that will support and help engage you. Because you're so right, Heather. In the beginning of the summer, people are like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah, they're ready to go to the beach, and 4th of July is upon us, and everybody's
going
out.
18 months of 24/7 work. And so a lot of people have now kicked back. And while the timing is not right, this needs assessment, as Brian mentioned, is a critical component of demonstrating need. You just can't put, we need 4,000 laptops and 4,000 MiFi devices. You've got to be able to quantify it in some way that, gives them some type of a number, so that the funding can flow back to you and you can apply for it. Honestly, you can't just make it up. You know, it's not ERate, but it is federal money. It flows through the FCC, through the USAC. And I was so fortunate to serve on the USAC board, so I know how the opportunities have not been there. And now USAC has even opened up the door and said, we're going to process this money. As Brian said, in a different way, we're going to take the whatever it takes attitude to make it happen. So to have the FCC, USAC, Funds for Learning, Digital Wish, and now BrightBytes coming to the table, this is what you call the perfect storm of solving the digital divide. So Kristal, talk about what you're going to do.
Yeah, I want to share that everybody on this call has played a role in putting these surveys together. So Kristal, take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Cheryl, thanks for introducing us to Digital Wish. My colleague Ken Goldstein, Vice President of Sales for BrightBytes, is on as well. And he actually brokered the call and invited me in. And so as a whole panel here, all the folks that you see, we came together and decided this was the right thing to do for our children across the country. And it is our privilege to do this. So I've dropped in the chat box a link to digitalwish.org where you can register, as well as directly going to our site where there's just a hot link there. When you click on that link or you go to digitalwish.org, you can go to step 2 in order to click on a link that will take you to what you're seeing here. This is our registration page. So literally in 20 seconds or less, you can register your district to participate. I do want to double down on the fact, if you're a school listening today, please do us a favor and be part of the solution and refer this to your district so that we can capture everybody in your district and get all of the students access and equity. So simply, you're going to get this free survey. We are not going to say, hey, you bought this from us, and so we want you to do. No, this is something that it is our privilege to do for you. Simply type in your district name, your title, your first and last name. So whoever the point of contact is at the district that's going to be responsible for this initiative needs to complete this with their email address. We put like, how many people do you expect to survey? This is, you can go above it, you can go below it. The reason that we place this here is so that BrightBytes can monitor your collection a bit. Let's say that you expect 500 parents to complete this survey and you only had 50. We obviously don't want to close your survey date, which is the last box here, without you trying to at least get somewhat close to your number. That way we can just communicate with you a bit. And then you just click submit. From there, as you see up here, a member of the BrightBytes team within 24 hours will reach out to you with one link, and then you can take that link and you can place it anywhere that you want, that you feel like your parents are going to go and see it. You can place it on your website. Maybe you use robocaller in your district. Maybe you use a parent notification system or emergency communication. Maybe you have parent texting capability. Whatever it is, you have the right. Each district will get their own link, and you will send that out, and we will then calculate all the data for you. And then on this anticipated, your expected survey end date, we will send you a report. Now, time is kind of the essence, right? We only have till August 13th to get this all done. So you don't want to wait till August to get your survey out. You want to get this link today, tomorrow, before the end of June. Get it up and running, start your collection, close it so that then you can go and fill out the application. When you're parents, you might be curious about what the survey looks like. This is what your parents will see. We're applying for funding to acquire free internet service and free computers for students at home. Please respond ASAP as the funding deadline expires over the summer. By answering just a few quick questions, you will help us acquire internet service and computers for your child or children at home. Please don't wait to respond, because we want your child and children to have these resources by the start of the year. They click get started, and then you can see it is a very simple survey that they fill out, complete, and click the word submit at the end. It's that simple. The district has two things you have to do: register, using this link that we talked about, and you fill out this page. And 2, distribute your link to your parents, however you want to do that. And then BrightBytes is going to do all the rest. And we're going to be talking and corresponding as a team here, those folks that are on the call, to ensure that we're getting this word out. And if you have friends across other districts, please refer them to digitalwish.org webpage to spread the love. Thanks, Heather.
Hey, Kristal, can you bring up the survey and read a couple of those questions off? Because the vocabulary is really important.
Sure.
Using the correct vocabulary to make sure that your survey actually asks the right questions so that you get the maximum number of parents responding. So if you don't mind, read a couple of the questions, and then perhaps, Brian, you can talk about the vocabulary and how that relates to the ECF application.
Yeah, so you're just typing in the parents' first and last name. They'll complete that themselves. How many children do they have will then allow them to get how many next boxes. So first name with their grade level in school. And if they type that they have 2 kids, then they'll get another one here with their, that they'll complete for their second child's name, grade level in school. We give an example. Then yes or no's, do you have sufficient internet service for all your school-age children to participate in online learning at all times? So if you have 5 people in your house and mom and dad are working remote, or mom's working remote, and she's like, get off the computer, I'm on a Zoom call, that is not learning at all times. So we want to make sure that there's bandwidth also, not just connectivity. So from there, you'll ask, do they have the devices to participate in online learning at all times? We don't need people sharing devices. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity that Cheryl talked about. We should be excited and really share that information. And then how many laptops do you currently need? So maybe if I have 2 students, I would select that I need 2, and then you just click finished, and that's all.
Thanks so much, Kristal.
Heather, let me jump in again, because y'all know that I've always got something to say. I know that people that either watching this live or watch the recorded webinar are probably thinking, oh my God, it's so hard to get people to do anything during the summer. And like I said, as a former CTO, it's going to take a little bit of extra effort. If I were in a district, I would push this out through our emergency notification system first, and I would send everyone to our district webpage. In other words, I'd say, go to cpsb.org, and on the lead there would be a little bit of this explanation, and ask every parent to fill out that survey in the district. And because our emergency notification system sends an email, if the parents have an email address, sends a recorded phone message to the home phone or the cell, and a text. And then I'd wait a week and I'd send it again. Because, and the message would be, this is an urgent message from the ABC school system. We now have an opportunity to get free devices and free internet connectivity for our students. So you need to fill out this survey so that we can see if you can qualify, and we can make sure we get enough funds from the federal government from you. There's no cost to the parent. Do this. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to do it, and will be a great benefit to your children.
Well, a cool thing about this is that it goes over the cell phones, and we're asking if you don't have an internet connection at home. Well, if a parent doesn't have an internet connection at home, then perhaps they can't fill it out. But if they have a cell phone, which one of the things we've seen was they all got cell phones. And if you put that link into the emergency notification system, they will get a text, and they can click the link on their cell phone. They can usually access internet from the cell phone. And so you can get a message to those people who don't have coverage and don't necessarily have a high-speed broadband internet connection in their house. So that's a fantastic piece of this puzzle.
Well, the key to why we have fought so long and hard is to make sure that children that live in economically disadvantaged homes, parents who are working 2 and 3 jobs, just to make ends meet and cannot afford to buy devices for their children and can't afford to have home internet, that this one-time funding will erase that digital divide. You know, I told somebody the other day, I never dreamed this would happen. But across this country, we have fought long and hard, so many of us, to have this accessible and really have every child have the opportunity they deserve to get the education they need. There is no reason, I can't imagine any reason on this planet why every school district wouldn't apply and push this out and push this out. Like I said, I'd send the emergency notifications, I'd put it on the district webpage, but most school districts have web pages that allow you to push out a notice and put it on every school webpage. Because as we approach the beginning of school, many parents will be going to the school webpage to see, oh, what do I have to buy for school supplies? What's the exact date I have to register? So there's an opportunity to use every channel. The other thing I do is I would get our TV station, I would have our newspaper do an article on it. I would do a press release, you know, and have the radio stations cover it. And I would have the superintendent or myself telling the story and say, don't delay. Go to our district webpage, click on the survey link. And if you need this, we will deliver this to your child or children. And the digital divide will be something of the past. And you know what? Then maybe we will be able to compete with other countries that have given devices and connectivity to every children, while we as a country of great knowledge and wealth have not done this yet. This is our time. This is the place. This is the system that will do it. And shame on us if we all don't do it. Really, I can't imagine someone saying, too tired, don't have time.
Well,
But everybody
thank you.
will. We're going to push this out.
We're going to make
And,
sure
you know,
everybody does it.
I know
Absolutely.
Digital Divide is pushing it, and we're reaching out. You're reaching out to all the major technology organizations to push it out to their members. And
We are. Yeah. So Cheryl, very inspiring talk. Thank you so much. I want to ask Brian, right now, let's say Kristal has sent me my report, and I've got my report, and I know I've got 69 students that need hotspots and 73 students that need laptops, and I'm ready to put my application in. Well, what do I do with the report? What are my requirements? What does the funding call for, Brian?
Yeah, this is a fantastic resource for really two main reasons. One is exactly like you described. The really simple aspect is this application is going to ask you how many connections and devices do you need, and this gives you the answer to that question. Super simple. The other reason that this is really, really useful, now I am a compliance guy, and you can tell because of the gray here. I need to get Cheryl's stylist number. We'll talk offline, but as a normal part of the application process, a lot of the really nitty-gritty details are not going to be requested up front. So I don't expect that they're going to ask, the details about the need and all of that at the time this application is reviewed. However, this is a federal funding program. There will be audits and there will be reviews that take place several years down the line, and you want to be prepared to respond to those types of questions if you happen to receive them. And that's the real power in a resource like this, because you just keep that in your records, in your file. If they ever come to you and ask why you requested funding for 72 laptops, you can pull out your report and say, this is how we determined how many we needed. Super simple, and can really, really save you a lot of stress and headache and time in the event that you get some unexpected review later on.
Yeah, people, that will listen to this, webinar later or on now live, anybody who's done ERate is very familiar with the PIA review, where they ask you to send in further documentation. I fully expect they'll ask you to send in documentation. So the idea of, well, we know we've got this many kids on free and reduced lunch. We're just going to say 2,500 laptops, 2,500 things, and we're just going to roll with it. I think that is a very bad plan, a very bad plan. So there is a survey that's needed. You need to quantify the need. You need to get as many responses as you can. And why are you going to sit and toil in your office on building some kind of form or doing something and sending it out when, BrightBytes has graciously agreed to do it, monitor it, help you with the data analysis, and have a person that will explain this to you. And then you've got funds for learning that will be available to answer any questions. You might be a customer of theirs and you might not, because again, the community has come together in unprecedented ways to support this really pot of gold at the end of the technology rainbow. I mean, that's what it is. We've been looking for that leprechaun, for 30 years, and now he's popped up with $7 billion. And you need to go get it for your district, your children, and to make sure, as I said before, that every child has an equal opportunity. We talk about equity all the time in this country, and this is the solution for digital equity. There's no doubt about it.
Well, thanks, Cheryl. I want to talk about now how to spread the word and how to share this messaging out to your district, okay? Anybody who's on this call, we need you to join us and we need to be able to solve the digital divide together. Well, in that realm, Digital Wish has put together a whole bunch of shareable resources that you can grab and you could send out to your administrators within the district. All you have to do is go fetch them. So you go to digitalwish.org, the very top banner says spread the word, and all of these resources are there. We've got a 2-minute teaser, top 10 questions about ECF. You want to get it in 2 minutes? Excellent. We've got a video right on the homepage, top 10 questions, 2 minutes. That's all you have to invest to find out how to apply. Webinars, we have done an entire webinar series, including this one called Solving the Digital Divide. That's also at digitalwish.org. You can watch webinars on funding. Brian's appeared on a number of these webinars talking about the funding and how to apply and what those restrictions are. You can share artwork. If you want to share in your personal network, we've got some real fun artwork, comedy artwork. If you want to share with your school administrators, we've got some very serious artwork, step 1, step 2, step 3, and you can share that out with your school administrators, be very professional. All of that stuff is available. The other thing that we have is we've already written social media posts for you. So if you want to share on social media, just go and hit that spread the word button right at the top of Digital Wish, and you'll have tweets and Facebook posts and artwork and all that stuff that you need to share. So in conclusion, I say go to digitalwish.org, contact everybody on this list, contact Kristal, get your BrightBytes survey, get your free survey, send that out through parent notification. Contact Cheryl if you want to talk about district level issues. Contact Brian at Funds for Learning if you need a person to help you write and prepare your application, or contact me, Heather at digitalwish.org, or go to Digital Wish's website to get your step-by-step instructions on ERate, on the ECF funding, and to learn how to get started. And as Cheryl says, everybody needs to do this. And this is the best pot of gold we have ever seen. That is a $7 billion pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So thank you everyone for coming on. Get your free survey. It's at digitalwish.org. Go out there, solve the digital divide and apply. Spread the word and apply. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.